not following the lead. They're seeing it, but they're not going. What if you did the opposite? Have you ever heard of Making a Murderer?
No. I don't think so.
You haven't? It was this Netflix series that came out maybe 2 or 3 years ago about this guy who... Basically, this guy in Wisconsin was charged with rape, like, early in his life. And I think that he was found guilty. He went to jail. I think it was for, 18 years. And then he was innocent. They found the person that did it. Someone admitted to it. DNA evidence exonerated him.
23andMe.
Yeah. Not that yet. But a few years later, he gets charged with a murder. And the first season was just looking into all the details and seeing, into all of it. And basically, my opinion... So basically, he ended up being found guilty for this murder, and he went to jail. And his nephew also, was interrogated by police. And his nephew was, very, not the brightest. So, you can watch this interrogation video, and they're kind of, you can see them, leading him, and they plant all of the details of the crime. He didn't reveal anything to police that they didn't already know. So, the nephew's, almost definitely innocent, and then this guy, Stephen Avery, who's, I guess the main character. People go back and forth, but, he's probably innocent just from watching it. It seems like he's innocent. But... Anyway, recommend the show if you're interested in the true crime type of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'll probably watch it. We've been random binge watching shows, which is not really something I typically do, but lately just been went through a few of them, so that sounds like it would fit in. Why not?
Yeah. It sounds like but you are one to binge though, just not always on shows, right?
What do I binge? I mean,
but don't you say you have that obsessive personality? Maybe I'm just projecting myself.
I guess. I don't know if I necessarily would diagnose myself as that, but yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that.
I think I was just projecting because I am definitely a binge personality.
Maybe I haven't thought about it enough to determine if I am or not, but I guess you're right. I guess I am. When I get really into something, I get really into it, and I
remember, I'm thinking back, so each season is 10 episodes of 1 hour, so 20 hours total, and I've watched all 20 episodes in a span of 5 days over it,
5 days, 20, so 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I guess.
Wait, is that right?
I remember the first time I did it, it was more intense because I watched 6 before going to bed, and then I watched 4 when I woke up.
Yeah, I feel honestly, I think...
And it's also just a really intense one to, binge on, especially the first season, because you,
those type of
see
shows,
all of this stuff. I guess I kind of spoiled it a little bit.
That's fine. I'll still watch it. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I think you actually, very accurately, accused me right there, because literally the reason that I, because Jessica will watch more shows than I do, and she'll be like, do you want to watch this? And I'll just be like, no, I don't.
I don't watch.
And honestly, the reason is because, once I start it, then I'm just like, fuck, now I have to watch 400 more episodes of this shit.
For me, dude, I also have this, thing with TV and movies where maybe it's different than you, but, I actually don't get hooked as easily. Most of the stuff, I just can't get into, which is weird because I figure with music I like a lot of stuff. I feel I generally have pretty broad tastes, but then with TV stuff I just can't get into a lot of this I guess more action stuff. But there's actually a lot of genres that I don't.
Action I think is a bullshit genre. I mean, if you just go to the movies just to see shit oh my god, and then it exploded, and then the car went flying, and an alligator came out. Just I don't know. To me, that's the worst genre.
You don't see it for the story. You see it for the effects.
Right? Yeah. That to me is just I have zero interest in that. But
yeah, same way.
I think that the shows have gotten so fucking... I think they've just cracked the code to making shows addictive. It wasn't like this before. But now it's like every show, at least if you're looking at these shows that are, you know, kind of on like the paid stuff, like the Netflix exclusives or all of that sort of like this new wave of binge shows, which is probably only 5 years old as a genre, kind of. I mean, I guess it has seeds earlier with like stuff like, I feel like the first one was kind of Lost on TV. Like that was like, at least that I remember, maybe it was just that in my lifetime, like that was a show that just like hooked everybody, and it was like this crazy like plot twist and every episode's a cliffhanger, like sort of that genre of show. I feel like they've just at this point nailed down that formula so well that every show is extremely hooking. And
it's just like a formula. And
as soon as you start, now you're just like, the way I feel is just like, God damn it, now I have to keep watching. And then you're like, okay, one more episode, and then that episode has the biggest cliffhanger of all time, and now then you end up staying up late, and like we just watched a show, and it was like I think it was 10 episodes, one season, and we watched it in 3 nights. So roughly the same pace you're talking about, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 nights.
It's fun.
It was cool. It was like this show that just came out on Netflix, and it's like this like horror show. I think it's called The Haunting of Hill House or something mixed up, like Hill House whatever.
Yeah.
It has those words in it. And like Jessica was telling me she was reading about it, and like people were saying that they were like getting so scared they were like puking and like all this, like having anxiety attacks and shit. And I was like, okay, let's watch it. It was really good. I would recommend it. Puked 10 times. Puked real good. I mean, like I really had that like satisfying puke that I've just been like waiting to get out, you know?
Yeah, no, that's why there's puke stains all over the carpet.
Yeah, well half of those are from that, but the other ones are like
just from eating some stuff.
Yeah, all those keto smoothies,
all those bad mushroom trips.
They don't stay down. But yeah, it was a good show, and it like, yeah, it just hooks me. I feel like I'm not a good person for it because as soon as I get into it, I'm just like, I have to watch it now. And I hate, back to time anxiety, I just hate having to think like, I'm gonna spend 10-20 hours watching this show, like is that what I should be doing? Like, but sometimes it is, and it's enjoyable, and I don't necessarily regret it. But like, that's why the way I am with movies too is I used to be really into movies, like going down the IMDb top 250, watching every single one, like just trying to find like the best movies. Now in the last 5 years I've probably only watched a few movies, and I feel like the big reason is because like a lot of people are like, oh, you want to like come over and watch this movie? It's like we're watching some random fucking thing, and to me it's like, what is it? Has this been proven to change at least 500 people's lives forever after watching this movie? It's like I need to like vet the thing before I invest time into it.
There have been studies.
Yeah, like I'm not going to
double blind.
Like wait.
Studies.
So you're telling me I'm going to go over and we're going to sit down for 2.5 hours and I'm going to watch this thing, and like I need to know. Like I need to know, is this worthwhile? I'm not
is
just
that what you say to people?
Basically, I just say no. but that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking is it's like, well, this is a big commitment. And I think I think that honestly can be something that separates successful people from not, is I think a lot of people that are just in this like hamster wheel of wasting their time, like they're just maybe like, not that it's not okay.
It's a big fucking ask. If your friend asks you to watch a fucking 2-hour movie, that's a big ask, especially if you're not that interested in the movie.
It's a big ask, but I think most people will be like, yeah, I'll watch a movie. Like, I don't know, how was it? It kind of sucked, but you know, whatever. Like, no, not whatever. You just fucking spent your life on that. That's a big fucking deal. Like, so if I'm gonna watch a show or watch a movie, I want it to be the best fucking movie ever. I want it to like change me in some way, or like leave me glad that I invested the time. Everything is an investment of your time and attention. Everything.
And it's okay to take a risk, but I think that it's about like, everyone looks at certain things before they watch a movie. Like maybe you watch the trailer, maybe you have your like IMDb rating, like everyone has a system, and I think it's just about like being honest with that system over time. It's like, okay, like the IMDb was 5.8, but then I loved it. Like, all right, maybe I'll give some more 5.8s a shot. But it's like, oh my god, like my friend whatever name person recommended this movie, and he's already recommended 3, and I haven't liked any of them. But we were hanging out, and I watched the 4th, and I didn't like it again. It's like,
yeah, now the credibility of that recommendation has gone to 0.
Like weighting different credibility in your mind as far as the time investment. I do think like movies can have a significant impact on us because like it affects how we think of stories, and everything is kind of a story.
I think a lot of, well, you could argue music too, but a lot of culture comes from movies and music. I think a lot of people sort of learn how to act in situations from movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a tweet, it was something like, people watch sitcoms to get personality templates.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's true. I think like look at a show like The Office. I bet you that literally changed people's personalities in their humor and the way they act at work and with friends. Like that happens with so many shows, is people change because they kind of like the humor of a character. They start making those types of jokes. They start talking that way, which is what people do in real life too. You start talking like your friends. You start thinking like them, making the same jokes, laughing in the same.
We literally, this goes into something else I've been thinking about. Like, you literally are what you see, and not in some like self-improvement life hack type of way. It's just like our brains store information, and that comes from what we see.
Yeah, all you are is your experience.
All you are is the sum of your senses, kind of.
Yeah, and then we sort of like blend that up into what we think is our personality, but it's constantly having new ingredients added or pouring some out, and some get old.
Yeah, and I guess that's like what we're both spending a lot of time thinking about, like what is like, I guess ego, or like just starting to wrap our head around these ideas. Like, well, what is it if it's always changing?
Right. I mean, even like personality, nature versus nurture. What are we versus what are we changing versus what are we influenced by in our environment versus what are we consciously changing versus what are we just innately that we don't have control over. Yeah,
it's like I've been reading more Alan Watts, just rereading the same book. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned the title on the first one, but it's The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts.
Yeah, I had 1 or 2 people be like, what was the book you were saying was the greatest book of all time?
Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, we didn't say the title.
Yeah. One of my friends was like, yo, that was genius. You started out the podcast saying the book, but then you never said the title, so then I had to listen to more. I was like,
oh, we did not do that on purpose. But yeah, I had a couple people, like friends and some other people just be like, what was the book? What's the Alan Watts book? So it's, The Wisdom of Insecurity. I actually just I haven't started listening to it, but I downloaded it on Audible. It's like 14 hours. It's some like live thing of his, or like it's not like a book, but it was like adapted into a book of like live lectures or something, and it's like, I believe it's in his voice and like everything, so it should be really cool. I'm excited to listen to that. And I don't know. Let's say the title before, and just in case. But
yeah.
But I haven't started it yet. But I feel like it's gonna be the greatest thing.
Yeah, I've been listening to some of his videos on YouTube, like posted by other people, obviously.
I love those. I've gone down that rabbit hole too.
He speaks in the same exact way he writes. Almost, it's this very like. He just like says what he feels.
It's like channeling. It's like his, you could take him speaking and put some music behind it, and it just sounds like, those videos. Like that's literally all it is. It's like you put some, like, I don't even know the word for like that type of music, but it just makes things sound important and deep and stuff. Of
all like thinkers and speakers that I ever come across, like he just blows my mind every single time. Like,
me too. Yeah.
I forget about it, and then it just comes back. It's like, this explains everything.
Anybody listening should just type in Alan Watts on YouTube. Just click on like some random video, and then you'll get suggested like 85 other ones, and they're all gonna be great. Anyways, that book that I haven't started yet is called Out of Your Mind, and I'm excited. I heard that you have to do it on audio because it's his voice. I'm 95% sure, but I think it's literally his like lectures or speaking and kind of like a compilation into a book. And I saw like really good reviews. Oh, this ties back to something that I didn't quite get in, but how we were talking about like movie recommendations. We talked about this before about book recommendations. This is like how like you need to get it from a few places.
Yeah.
And it's like for example, if you hear about this book here, but then you hear about it on like Tim Ferriss mentions it, and then you read some other book and that author says his favorite book is that, now you're going to be like, oh my God, I have to read it. And I just think it's funny how like that's how we sort of get book recommendations. Like I need to hear it in multiple places and then I'm sold, because I don't trust the credibility of just like one review. It's like, well, maybe this person loved it, but I mean, did it really?
Because otherwise you just can't finish all of the books, and then you just start a random, like, you've got to read the books that you think is going to be the best for you.
Same exact thing I said about movies is probably even stronger with books. It's like, if I'm going to commit to a book, it's like I need to know that this thing is vetted, is worth my time.
Because books especially, like, you'll have people read a book, recommend a book, and then sometimes you'll get through one and you're never really going to like not like a book. It's hard to be like, especially nonfiction. It's like, oh, I didn't like it. It's like, well, you learn something. Like, you learn something from anything. But at the same time, I think that if the writing style is something that you don't really resonate with, that it can kind of be like a slog to get through.
Yeah.
And then that has a compounding negative effect, because then on the next book, you're going to be like, am I really going to read this? So.
Yeah. I had that experience recently, but it was with a pretty short book, so I tried to just slog through it, but then the ending was actually really good. So, yeah, but I agree. It's like, I hate when it becomes a chore, but then I also don't want to be somebody that's like constantly not finishing books, but I also don't want to force myself to finish something that I shouldn't finish. Because I think
we've mentioned this a few times, but like, why don't you want to be someone who's constantly not finishing books? Because
I don't finish fucking any of them if I do that, and I know that there is good stuff. If I could push through a little bit more, then I might get to it. But like sometimes a lot of books like don't hook you right away. Like even Ego is the Enemy, Ryan Holiday. Like honestly, I would say the first 25% of the book, it'd be really easy to give up on it, in my personal opinion. But like I basically promise you, if you read through that, it's like you're gonna love it. Yeah, it's an important message. Yeah. Here's a question that I have, and I don't even know what I think of it. I guess we both read Ego is the Enemy at a time when we were kind of like ready for that message and like exploring a little more. Do you think we would have gotten the message if we hadn't actually found that book? Like, do you think we would have found that in other books? Meaning, like, about how ego can be self-destructive. I think it's one of these things that's kind of just in the air right now. You know, like obviously I think Ryan Holiday's book is like, you know, gave it an extra little push down the hill.
For sure.
But I think even the reason that he would have wrote this at the time that he did was because it was in the air, you know? Yeah. And I think having your ear to the ground and having a sense of what's bubbling up is a really good skill. And but I think what I'm saying is...
That's a good phrase.
I think it was bubbling up anyways. So would we have got it? Probably, but maybe a little slower, maybe from different sources, maybe it would have been scattered in a few different ways, but yeah. Yeah,
I think that it's interesting with ego. It goes back, I was listening to like Alan Watts' YouTube stuff, I think I said, but he mentions like the biggest ego trip out there is getting rid of your ego.
Yeah, I think you tweeted that, right? Tweeted
that. Yeah. And it's just like fucking people will be like, oh, I got rid of my ego. It's just like gone. Like you still have it, but if you wanted to get rid of your ego, you'd need to like go to a retreat and like you'd need to like really like meet some like spiritual people and like they would show you how to do it, but it's really hard. Like you have to like meditate until your back hurts. Like my back hurts so much, but I got through it. And like my ego's gone now.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, and it's like it's so interesting. Look,
it's a trap.
But why? Like, why does this push both of our buttons so much? You know, it really does.
Yeah, I mean,
in a fun way. I mean, like
I can see myself on both sides of it.
Yeah, I could see how I could be like that. It's kind of like with like the psychedelic conversation is you want to tell people, but you don't want to tell people in a way that it's like, well, you wouldn't understand.
It's like, I think it's tricky to start trying to like communicate ideas, because whenever you're like communicating like what got you value, there's always that like urge to be like, and these ideas will make me, and then you like tie your identity behind it, and
it's there must be, I mean, to get to the bottom of what sort of human instinct that is about, I really I don't know, but for some reason, we love to be the first one to discover a new band, or the first one to kind of like, the first one that was talking about ego, or like the first one that, the first one that like tried some drug and like, reports back to the tribe.
Yeah.
Like why do we sort of like to be, first in that way, to get credit,
Right, like the tribe definitely benefits from setting up this incentive system of like people that are able to like bring good shit back to the tribe.
Yeah.
Like if my friend is yo, Sam, you gotta try out this music, it's really good, and then I try it and it's good, and I'll be like, oh, thanks, friend.
That's like, even,
you get a raise.
This is super random, but like that's how like bees, they determine like where the good spots are to get pollen, is like they come back to the hive and they do this waggle dance. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
It's crazy. So bees have this like crazy communication system where they do this like figure 8 dance to basically communicate the strength of how much pollen and ripe flowers there are in what direction and at what distance, and whichever bee like comes back and sort of like demonstrates this the strongest, the other bees like are like, oh yeah, like let's follow this one. And so like whichever one is the most convincing, then like another bee goes and like confirms it, and now all of a sudden there's like 30 bees doing the same pattern to the same location. And then they're like, oh shit, yeah, like this is the one. But then if you come back with nothing too, you're kind of like brushed off. So it's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's like, and like the bee that comes back with nothing is like, fuck, I gotta try and do it.
Yeah, it's like fucking tail between its legs, like, right? Like, it's like, yeah, and like meanwhile, like they get, even though what's interesting too is like, I bet you even the one that's like the second one to confirm the first one being the strongest, that one probably still feels really good too. Yeah. And it's kind of like, the same thing we would do is like, none of us are discovering these things, but we might find somebody else who kind of is like paving the path first, and then we're like early to it, so then we can kind of get that ego trip of being early to this too, even if we didn't discover it or whatever. But
it's interesting because it goes back to like, well, what we are is what we see. Everything, like the bee that found it first, like it found it first, so it's like, okay. But then when it comes back and it's like, I am finding it first.
Yeah, right. Like that bee is not just like, you can take credit for it. Like, that bee is like, I have the strongest fucking flower bed. It's this way, follow me.
I have been granted a patent on the pollen location. I will be charging a 10% tax to anyone who wants to get the information.
Yeah, bees are fascinating, dude. They really are.
Yeah. It's like, the more you learn about it, it's like, oh, it's all just us.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah. I was just listening to some clip of Joe Rogan talking about the guy who... This is I don't even know anything about this, but I just thought it just piqued I was like, what the fuck? I gotta look into this. But anyways, the guy who invented flotation tanks. If you don't know, that's like the sensory deprivation tanks. Yeah. It's these isolation chambers. Sam, there are people listening. I know, I'm trying to think about the listeners here.
I was like, no, I know what it is. Go on.
Like, I did it last week, you fucking asshole. No, I discovered isolation tanks. You don't know what this is, Sam.
Oh my God. So they are.
They are these chambers where it's complete blackness. You're floating in this extremely high density of salt in the water. So the concept is that you can detach from all your senses. Anyways, that's almost a stretch to even relate to the story, but that's what it is. The guy who invented those apparently was I don't even know if he's still alive, was so convinced about the intelligence of dolphins and kind of like everything that goes on with SeaWorld and all that whole thing, you know, about it being that way. And what did he say? Oh, he said that he predicted that in like 300 years or whatever, he was like, the dolphins will have like a seat on like the United Nations. I was like, what? Like, that sounds so crazy. But then, like, you know, it's one of those things that sounds so absurd, but like, I don't know, maybe it's not that absurd, that like they're important to, you know, they are intelligence like us in their own world, communicating in their own ways. And it also said, I thought this was really interesting, was dolphins in captivity, like they might understand hundreds of human words for commands, right? Like they know how to, you know, jump and twirl and, you know, come get the fish, or, you know, go do a circle. Like they can understand commands the same way you could tell a dog to sit or roll over or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But we as humans, we know zero dolphin. We don't have a fucking clue what's going on with their shit.
Oh yeah, it's like they can understand us, but we can't understand.
But
you could also say the same for a dog. It's like,
yeah, true.
But also, I bet you the dolphin trainers do understand them.
I don't know. I mean,
Like, you know when a dog wants food.
Well, maybe in that way, but like we don't know. I just know that like there's a lot of research into dolphin communication, and they've gotten like zero. They've gotten like nowhere with it.
It's just
weird.
A random thing. Yesterday I saw Joe Rogan talk about dolphins randomly. I was just like watching his like first Netflix comedy special, and he just like mentioned dolphins
for
a while on it, which is just like a strange coincidence.
Is it though? I mean, he loves talking about crazy shit in the ocean. He loves talking about alligators. There's like these certain genres that he really gets.
It is possible. It's like, oh well, what if dolphins are smarter than us?
Right. I mean, it's widely accepted that dolphins are extremely smart, and to think like, yeah, I mean, that they obviously have this ecosystem of communication and hierarchy and all this crazy stuff that we have no understanding of.
Yeah.
Or even back to the bees, it's like, dude, like, we can't do that. We can't do that communication of telling you where the flower bed is. Like, I mean, I guess we kind of can through words. Like, I could tell you drive, 4 miles northeast or whatever. Like, right? But the fact that they can do that is weirder.
Well, it's like,
because we have like, we're doing it in this system that we like had to envision first, like a map, right? Whereas they are doing it in this like intuitive sense. Like,
or are we just doing it in the same intuitive sense, and we just convince ourselves that we're not? Like,
not really, dude. I mean, I think like imagine LA.
Here's my okay. Well,
so
okay, go on.
So imagine LA.
Yeah.
We wipe out all the fucking buildings. You don't have a phone. You don't have a map. You don't know north, south, east, west. They don't exist, right? And I'm like trying to communicate with you, like how far you have to fly and the breeze and what distance and what flowers to look for, like almost like without words. I think it's a very different communication.
Well, the bees sort of just like follow the most charismatic bee,
but they don't follow it. They communicate where it is from the hive.
Oh,
and then the other bees just fucking know.
Oh,
they
dance
the dance communicates where the location is exactly enough so that the other bees can just go to it, not follow the leader, but like here are the instructions, go.
Okay, so they like do a dance and encode in the dance a location.
Yes, I am not kidding. I took zoology classes in college where we learned about this and was refreshed on it through this Joe Rogan conversation. But yeah, you can actually like they've decoded what that dance means. Like I don't remember it in exact enough right now, but like they do a figure 8 and like that shows the direction, but then like how many like wiggles they do as they walk in this one direction indicates the distance. How many times they do it indicates like the strength. Like
how many waggles that follow the wiggles. Literally,
it's like that. Like it literally is like if we were like Joe Rogan right now, he'd be like, Jamie, pull that shit up, and you'd be watching on the TV. You know what I'm talking about?
No, dude, yeah.
Francis, pull that shit up on the TV. Yeah, you see how they're doing this little dance?
Oh yeah, they're doing a little waggle followed by a wiggle. This is crazy.
I thought it was hilarious. This is super random, but the whole like Jamie on his podcast. That's like his guy, like on the side.
Okay.
Who's like looking shit up. He in Joe Rogan's always like, Jenny, pull that shit up.
Yeah.
You know, like for the TV. I randomly like went to like Jamie's Instagram and like saw that his like link was like a store that he has some like shirts and stuff, and he has this like hoodie and it's like, Jamie, pull that shit up. I thought it was super funny. It's like, pull that shit up hoodie.
Yeah,
it's funny how those little things just become like a little meme within a show or something. Those like recurring things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Dolphins on the board of the United Nations. It's coming. 2030. You heard it here first.
Yeah, they're the U.S. will withdraw, and they're gonna just have to replace it with something.
And there's like bees flying around.
Yeah. Oh my god. The Dolphins didn't accept our invitation. They sent a message that says humanity is egocentric and we disapprove. Sincerely, the Dolphin Nation.
Oh, that actually just reminded me, is this the guy, the flotation guy who said that, he gave LSD to dolphins, which is crazy. I don't know what happened, but he did that. Seems like he may have been a touch crazy for sure, but like sometimes I think like, you know, crazy is the edge of unique ideas.
The line between genius and insanity is thin.
Like saying that I think what I like about that and why I even remembered it enough to bring it up is it's one of the like it is so easy to like hear that statement and just like basically like crack up laughing. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But if you really think about it, like if we're really trying to like save the world and like understand all of ecology and all of the different species, like is it that crazy that the smartest animal in basically the largest land mass, figuratively, the ocean, is it crazy to think that we would want to have their interests in play in terms of like world policies and pollution? And,
I mean, if they really are comparable in intelligence to us, then we'd want their ideas, right?
Sure. And this is something I think a lot about, or used to think even more about, especially since like, you know, I majored in psychobiology. I took a lot of psychology, a lot of biology. And I would think about this is because I think we can take a statement like that completely wrong too. Like, you know, it's very easy to go like, did you know that elephants have like the largest cerebellum? Or like, I mean, like, you know, it's like there's all these little like factoid things that, you know, they sound cool, but like it's in such a different context, right? It's like, you know, hypothetically, I don't know very much about dolphin intelligence, but here's what I mean. Hypothetically, let's say they have 10 times the neural connections that humans have, right? Let's say that hypothetically that is not accurate. I have no idea, but let's just say that. Then like people are like, oh, did you know dolphins are 10 times smarter than humans? And like sure, okay, but maybe they're just using all those connections only for like navigation, for example. And that means their navigation is 1,000,000 times more complex than ours. But does that mean they're like, but that doesn't mean they're like doing math.
They sort of live in an entirely different world.
They literally live in an entirely
underwater. It's an entirely different kind of thing.
Right. So you can't just like compare intelligence in that way. Like, yeah, maybe they're making more connections in their brain, but that doesn't mean they're like reading and having philosophies and, you know what I mean? Like it could be completely different. It could be motor control. It could be, you know, it could be movement. It could be.
It's impossible to say, and it's impossible to. You can't infer something that you can't infer.
Yeah.
What if the Dolphins fun fact is like, did you know that 30% of the Earth is covered by land?
The Dolphins are all like, did you know that humans think they're the smartest? They're like,
They don't even know that we can speak English because we don't do it in front of them.
We just pretend,
We pretend to be stupid so they won't use us for their own benefit.
We get them to feed us. You know, they ride us.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool though. Like honestly, I never even like growing up in Northern California. I never even knew there were so many dolphins down here. Like I see dolphins every day, basically.
Really?
Pretty much every day.
You just walk out there, you see them.
I'll see them from here, dude. And like literally, I mean not literally right now, but sometimes we'll see them just jumping right past those houses there. Or like last time I was out at the beach just a couple days ago. Didn't go the last couple days because of the weather, but like they were in the surf. Like there were surfers and the dolphins are just in there like playing around like really close to shore. And I'm like, that's so crazy. I don't know, it's really crazy to me. Like the first time I moved down here I was like, holy fuck, is that a shark? And then it's like, oh no, it's dolphins every single day, always. Damn. I mean there's probably sharks too, but not as much. The dolphins are just everywhere, like all the time, almost every day.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then you factor in the fact thinking about how smart they are and all this stuff, and then you're just like, whoa, like they're here. They're not like, it's not like, did you hear about this species in Zimbabwe or like, the Galapagos? It's like, no, dude, they're out the window. They're here. They're here. Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, I feel like the chances that we are the smartest is about as close to zero as you can get. Not to say that
it's all,
what's above us is dolphins. But
dolphins are aliens that came here on asteroids.
Yeah, yes, they are. I agree. I'll put it on record.
If you're listening and you're a dolphin,
to all our dolphin listeners out there,
join our Facebook group. By the way,
yeah. We really appreciate you tuning in. We know that the audio doesn't carry as well through water, so we just appreciate you listening anyway.
Yeah. That reminds me, we didn't really do the intro or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe...
Let's just throw it in right now, though. If people want to connect, and if you like these and you enjoy it and you want to just continue these conversations, we started a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/thoughts-from-space-rock. It would be fun to hang out with you guys, so you should join there.
Or just go to the search bar, type in Thoughts from Space Rock. And
that too. Yeah, that's probably easier, actually. Facebook and search Thoughts from Space Rock. Space Rock. What the fuck did I just say? You know what I mean. Join the group. But yeah. And if you're a dolphin, there might be this weird text verification thing to confirm you are human. Don't worry about that. Dolphins are allowed to.
Yeah.
Just say you are human. I know. We're working on that.
But. Just, get a phone. Get a cheap, quick, disposable data plan. There are ways for dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah. But back to the intelligence thing. It's just it is a stretch to just assume we're the smartest, but also, it's exactly what I was saying about how are we measuring intelligence, because clearly we are the smartest in terms of our ability to shape the world to our will. Right. No other animal has done anything really.
Let's in that
regard. Yeah, I mean, we're just here fucking shit up, and dogs are just running around with us, and fish are swimming around. But
we're the only animal that could probably destroy the world if we wanted to.
Right. Well,
or maybe if we don't want to, let's destroy it anyway.
I guess there are, but that's a weird thing too. Is there are other ways to destroy the world. For example, a virus. Is a virus smarter than us? Because a virus isn't even alive. A virus has intelligence, but isn't even alive. So is a virus, if it has the ability to wipe out the human race, the whole point is, how do we think about intelligence? We really don't have a clear definition of like I said, dolphins are 10 times smarter. It's we really don't have a good gauge of that. There are all these different types of it. And, bacteria are intelligent.
Yeah, a virus is a type of intelligence.
Fungi are massively intelligent in their own way. They're not would you argue they're conscious? I mean, there's all these weird ways of talking about it, but it's different types of intelligence.
Yeah, it's probably a different type of consciousness.
Or is consciousness even the right measure to be talking about? We try to maybe we have consciousness, so that we just try to put that onto them. We're yeah, well, you don't have consciousness, but maybe that's not even the thing. Do they maybe they're unconscious, but they're still fucking super impactful.
It seems to me consciousness is the force that's the same between things that are consciousness seems to be a force of intelligence. Intelligence means doing,
But how do you argue? Yeah, I mean, the consciousness discussion is almost like, it's just a tough argument to even have, in my opinion.
It's like, even artificial intelligence doesn't really, like, understand what consciousness is. It's like, what is consciousness?
Or, like, I mean, where is the line? Like, what animal, what species...
You know what I was thinking when I was driving here? It's like, if I put my hand over one eye, like, am I still a conscious being? It's like, fuck yeah. But also at the same time, like, I'm not getting as much data, so I'm less conscious.
Are you conscious when you're sleeping? I mean, typically we would say you're unconscious when you're sleeping, but not really. I would still say you're more conscious than, like, you know, a lot of other life forms. Because if you're sleeping and I, like, you know, stab you in the leg, like, you're not unconscious to that.
Yeah, you definitely would wake up.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even to say you're unconscious when you're unconscious is already not correct.
Yeah,
I think we just have, like, the wrong definition.
It's still like a type of consciousness when you're sleeping.
For sure. I mean, you're more conscious sleeping than...
like, when you're sleeping, you are aware.
For sure.
Yeah.
And would you say we're more aware than a clam when we're asleep? I don't know.
What if we're more aware than even when we're awake, we just don't really remember?
Yeah.
What if we just don't remember
dreams?
Like, what if there's, like, two worlds and we just can't remember either? I don't know.
But there's, like, weird overlap. Like, you remember your dreams, and in your dreams you're usually, like, semi-tethered to your reality self too.
Yeah, it's like,
you're not just, like, some new experience in your dream typically.
Exactly. And I think about dreams as, like, people are like, oh, dreams aren't real. Well, actually, like, being awake is also a type of hallucination. 100%. You just kind of, like, the laws all make sense.
Yeah, like, learning about vision in the neuroscience sense was mind-blowing to me at the time, and now I almost, like, can't even get into that headspace because it just seems so obvious. But, like, you're not really seeing, you're just taking in things, and your brain is creating an image of what makes sense out of these sensory inputs.
Right.
Like, that's all of everything. All of everything is that. It's not, you know, it's not you feeling the hot stove. It's like these sensors telling your brain that something's wrong and to freak the fuck out because your hand is about to be burned off. You know, it's not like we have the direct experience of any of these senses. It's our body taking in some input and translating it in some way, and then giving us a reaction that makes sense.
We're just like what I've kind of been thinking recently is, like, maybe consciousness is just what happens when you plug sensors together.
Yeah, but then, like, but that's not the way that people talk about consciousness. Because
people talk about it in a very ego way.
Yeah.
Like, I am me, kind of.
But I think what people talk about, and maybe they don't articulate it in the right way, I think what they really mean is, like, the ability to feel as if you're in control is consciousness, in a way. Like, because I think everyone would argue that, you know, sure, we can develop a smart robot, right? Like, and it can make decisions calculated, but, like, is it like us? It's back to the Alan Watts thing. Is it like us? It's not, is it us or is it alive? But it's this concept of like. Does it feel like us? Is it experiencing? Is it sort of, is it like this experience? Do you know what I mean? Or is that
almost
too far?
Like, do you think that's the same question as, like, like, does the computer have an ego?
Probably not. I feel like at the point,
and that's what seems to be the difference.
Yeah, I feel like we're at the point of, like, creating intelligent systems, but they're not conscious. And I think that there is a difference, because I think what we're really talking about with consciousness is not just the ability to make decisions, but the ability to feel like us.
Maybe the intelligent systems we're making, like, is my eye aware of itself, or does it just feed into the whole system of me that is aware of itself? And then maybe my iPhone is also just, like, an extra eye.
At what point in biological evolution do we achieve that? Because, like, is a single-celled organism conscious? It still reacts to its environment. It still makes a lot of calculations and adjustments, but is it conscious? And that's kind of back to like, is fungi conscious?
It seems to be like, yes. It's like
it's intelligent.
There's just different levels of it.
Sure, like
it's
in
spectrums.
It's intelligent. So that's what I mean. So then like our bodies build up and we get eyes and we get ears and we make decisions and all that. And all of a sudden it feels like we're in control. But are we? Are we not? I don't know. It's kind of like the free will argument too, right? It's really all the same stuff. It's like, are we in control or are we just a sum of, you know, biological processes and urges and desires and fears and, you know.
It's hard to answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Sam Harris. I don't know if you've ever like dug into Sam Harris, talking about like
briefly.
Yeah, you should. You would for sure go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, I mean, in a way though, it's so cliched too. Is it's like every like psychology interested person is like, yeah, well, is free will real, or like is consciousness real? And it's just like, I don't know. I think most of those disagreements are really just semantic problems. You know?
They are, and I get what you're saying. It's like, oh well, no matter whether Sam Harris thinks if I have free will or not, like if I want to do something, then I can fucking do it. Like,
right, but then the argument is like,
but what are you gonna do it anyway?
Is it you? Well, it's more like, it's not even arguing the fact of you are making that decision. It's, are you making that decision because you chose to? No, I didn't even phrase that right. Because either way, you are consciously making the choice, right? But are you influencing that, or are you just making that choice based on all of these circumstances that are basically happening to you, and you're making that decision based on everything that you are, which is your experience? And you're not really having a say in it because you're making decisions based on what you think is the right decision. But is that your free will, or is that you making sense of your environment and your experience? And then here's the problem: is that any different?
Is it any?
That's
different?
What I mean. Is like that's why those arguments kind of like frustrate me, because it's like, you know, these people would get in like heated arguments about like free will or not. It's like, but I feel like we're all just kind of saying the same thing, like, because yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Sam Harris could decide to go like pour milk on his head or some shit that would make no fucking sense, but he could physically go do that, right?
Yeah.
But the real question is like, well, is he doing that to like prove a point based on all these circumstances, and it was like basically predetermined, or is he just like choosing to do that? And like, obviously he could just choose to do that, but then the question is like, well, why did he do that? Did he do that out of his own free will, or did he do that because this just all aligned in that way for him to want to prove a point of that at that moment?
Yeah, it's like he thought he was proving the point of free will, but actually
he has milk on his head.
But it's like,
why did I use
why
that?
Why would somebody that had free will pour milk on their head? Clearly he had no free will.
Yeah, clearly he was, you know, being controlled by the dolphin overlords.
I think it's kind of like, a lot of people might hear it and feel like discomforted by any possibility of not having free will.
Absolutely. But yes, that's the whole thing. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Is that like the only reason this is even a conversation is because people want to cling to their importance.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, maybe there's also a comfort in not having free will, and just knowing that your senses are kind of what's pulling you, and you're just like kind of just like a part of nature, and you're just going, and you don't have to like.
It takes the stress off of you. But I think I think one of the most driving forces of human nature is meaning and importance, and that you can't have meaning and importance if you feel like you're just passively watching this occur. The meaning and importance comes from you feeling like you have input, and you feeling like you have the ability to like control your fate. So people don't like to give up that control because then they just feel meaningless.
But in a sense, if you give up that control and then you just go towards what you're pulled towards, then aren't you sort of gonna be pulled towards where you are most meaningful to the whole system?
Probably, yeah. I think it's just scary. I think it's scary for most people to think like that.
It's like it's like this weird system, because what we know we want is meaning, but then the ego that's like, I want to be meaningful,
right?
It somehow like, I I don't think the sentence is gonna come together that great, but like it can push us away from it.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's like sometimes surrendering can even be better, I think.
Yeah, I see it. I definitely see it both ways. Right, because surrendering can take the pressure off of you to have to sort of, perform to a certain level.
It reminds me of a Alan Watts video I was watching where he made an interesting point. Is that we think of like love in terms of like there's different levels of love. There's like a very like selfless love where you kind of just are just giving and have no expectation. But then there's also like maybe that's the highest level of love. But then there's also like a low level of love when you're just like sex or like lusting after something. But what he mentioned is that actually all of these forces are the same exact force. It's the same thing. It's all just like being drawn to do something.
Yeah.
And they're sort of not. This is me extrapolating a little bit, but it's like there's not what you should love. There's only what you do love.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it all is just being pulled to things. And, we want to feel like these things are so different and what's right and what's wrong and, like, what's, even me, like, what's the best use of my time or, like, what's all this? But, like, that's almost giving us too much credit, is to think that we're so impactful or important or have such a say in the way things go versus just kind of like, what is the difference of being attracted to like this versus attracted to that?
Yeah, something I was reading something this morning. It was some article and it said all universes are born from a black hole. Hopefully I got that right, but it made me think like, oh yeah, like sometimes you sort of just have to be in the dark and like not really know, and then something just appears. Like, I don't know.
Or why do we have the expectation of something appearing, even? Like,
right. I think that's it. Like, if you are in the dark and you're like, all right, something will appear at any second, then that kind of misses the point. It's like, I think what I've been trying to do recently is to try and tone down my expectations. And I don't know where this will go, but I've just been anxious recently about like what should I be doing, like am I not doing enough. Like I used to think that I was making like so much progress and now it feels like maybe it's stalled for a bit. Is that because I have more money now and there's not as much like pressure on me to make money? Like is it because I was like doing the wrong thing? Like what am I doing? Like
I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
And where I am is, I guess on a practical side, I'm like, all right, well, listen to more Alan Watts. But I'm just trying to like tone it down and just like relax and like be in the moment without expectation of like getting a medal for being in the moment. Like,
what is that like little formula they say? It's like happiness is reality minus expectations, but it's like in a fraction form. It's like it's the way that it's arranged is it basically means that like the closer, like the more difference between your absurd expectations and reality, like the less happy. So it's like the best way to do that is to not have absurd expectations.
Yeah.
But I go back and forth on this. Like, honestly, I feel like this is probably one of the biggest reasons that these conversations are like therapeutic, is it like always kind of brings me back to like that point. Because I've had a lot of anxieties about that stuff lately, and just like, am I doing like, just everything's kind of like stressful and weird lately. But.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it just comes back to like the fact that I can't really control time, and that it's just going and going, and like,
yeah,
all right, like I'm here right now, like I'm alive, like
yeah. I think we really were onto something with that discussion about time anxiety. I feel like it's all time anxiety. Like even if we talk about like sort of with my audience of like entrepreneurs and stuff and wanting to make money, it's like everything is, it's all because we don't have enough time. Like, I mean, if we, and then it's also back to the live forever argument, because if we didn't have time anxiety, then, you know, we wouldn't have time anxiety. So we could just kind of explore more without the fear of everything.
But even if we did live forever,
are we having this one again?
Yeah, you're right. I don't even like, I don't know. I don't even know where to go next. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I guess it's all just, and time anxiety is just anxiety. Like, it's all sort of the same flavor, like anxiety and what is anxiety? Do you think it's just like worrying about what we can't control, or worrying?
I don't know if worrying about what we can't control is the phrasing, at least the way it feels to me. It's more of like worrying that I won't, I was going to say achieve, but not even that. Like just worry that things won't turn out the way you are trying to get them to turn out, I guess. And it's like, we just are always trying to find that place of like, now we're there.
Like,
but obviously, like if you've, with our like the stuff we talk about, Alan Watts, all this, like obviously, like it's about the dance. It's not about the end.
But at the same time, do you think that maybe understanding like what is possible and like seeing like how much potential you could potentially have, and like scripting it out and being like, oh, it could go this way, and oh my god, it could go that way, and that would be incredible, but only if I really work hard. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of anxiety inducing, and it's like, oh well, and if I don't work hard, then it will not go as good, and you can never get a refund on the time, and you'll be 10 years from now, and you just like, however you spent the time is how you spent it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worst part of it is like having the anxiety towards it. It would be better to just go for the thing or not go for the thing. But like being so stuck is like nothing comes out of it, kind of. But I think, I mean, that's where I'm stuck is, you know, do I go for all of it? Do I go for potential, or do I try to pare down? Do I try to do less and like make enough? Like, I'm not saying I want to be, you know, super like humble means or anything like that, but like, you know, do I want to try to make tens of millions of dollars, or do I want to try to make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year and just live like easier? I don't know. And it's like that balance is where I'm at all the time. It's like, do I try to really go for my quote potential? Because obviously I think I have the potential to go for things like that, but should I think that there's like such a, especially in like the entrepreneur community right now, everyone just feels like they have to go for the biggest goal possible, and I don't think that's right for most people. Like, I don't think most people should be trying to be a billionaire, like unless you have a really good reason that you want to be a billionaire, or you want to. And honestly, like probably most good reasons that you'd want to be a billionaire are probably not like really good reasons. I mean, if you really like dug deep, yeah, be like, well, I just want to like fucking, you know, have the biggest, I don't know, you know, like there's probably a lot of egotistical reasons to want.
Yeah, and like insecurity too.
Exactly. And that's why like sometimes I think like, you know, like I was talking to Craig Adams. He's like my favorite YouTuber, and I went to this little like workshop he had.
Yes.
And he's obsessed with minimalism, and he's not really like on the business side of things. Like he said, is like his ultimate goal is to make $200,000 a year, and then he would just do as little as possible, basically. And I was like, interesting, because I feel like that's like, you know, pretty doable. But anyways, he like, I mean, he just tries to do less and less and less, own less and less things. He owns 23 items. Like he got rid of it. He's just like nomadic out of a backpack right now.
Wow.
And just makes videos, and like his goal, like, I mean, he's minimalistic about his social media platforms, like what he says like if he could do anything, it would be like post one piece of content on Instagram per month. Don't put it on YouTube, don't put it on Twitter, don't put it anywhere. Like he would love to just have everything like so pared down like that. But then I even wonder, like back to our kind of conversations, it's like, well, what is driving him to want that level of simplicity? And like he's lived in New York, for example, and part of my mind is like, well, maybe he's just seeking that level of simplicity because he's been living in the fucking craziest place on fucking the planet, you know?
Yeah.
So now he's like trying to like, you know, live this life of pure simplicity. But like I get, honestly, I see a lot of value in the way he looks at it is, you know, just paring down on, you know, maybe, I feel like the last year I've been thinking like, how do I add more income streams? How do I do more? And how can I turn this into something that I can leverage? And how can I, this thing that I like doing, how can I turn that into a business and make money from here? But he's almost like, how can I make money in less places and like just worry about like less things and own less things and, you know, just, but then again, like his goals I think are more just like, you know, I just want to sit around and read or drink or be with friends, and that stuff is all fine, but like I don't know where I am on that spectrum of like, is my ambition simplicity and complete freedom or nothingness, or is it to try to be a billionaire? And it's like somewhere in the middle is like where everyone needs to come to terms with, right?
Yeah, man, I don't know because like there's one side which is like just go to what you're drawn towards. You can't like make a decision whether you want to be a billionaire or not. You just like, it's like if that's really the move, then you'll sort of just like move yourself and you'll do it. And you'll like figure out, I need to plan this and that, and like the steps will just add up. And then there's the other, it's like, well, if you want to be a billionaire, then you've got to like take steps and you've got to like go through discomfort. And I think that going through discomfort, for me, it's like, it's all about just like you have to be pulled towards something, or else it's fucking impossible to like, for me to like get myself to want to do it. It's hard for me to do things that I'm not like interested in, invested in, and like have some sort of meaning behind. And I think that the fear is that once you like, if there's a meaning that's not encouraging you to move as fast as you like to be moving, to try and like double down on that cause and like just move faster anyway, like figure out a way to move faster, like the kind of logic, like no, like first you like stand in like a power pose and then you feel confident, which like that there's some truth to that. So like, you know, maybe that is it. But then it's like, well, maybe you sort of need to like abandon a previous like what was pulling you, and like, I don't know if I want to say like just wait, but like people do stuff. People are drawn to do stuff, and I think, at least for me right now, it's like there's nothing that's like putting me into like fast motion and like pursuing something very quickly right now. And it's like, maybe wait a little bit, maybe see what happens. Like no expectation that it will happen, but it's like it's like from the same aspect of like life is short, and if you want to be a billionaire, start now. It's also like life is short, and if you want to just like enjoy it and start now.
Those are the two poles, and we have to figure out where we lie. And like I said, I think it's somewhere in the middle, but it's like, because I mean, I don't want to just, you know, live in the woods with like naked for the rest of my life, but I also don't want to like try to be the richest man ever. And at the same, because I don't think that's me either.
At the same time, there's probably billionaires that like set out to be a billionaire, but then also maybe you just like find something that really catches your passion. And I think if you build a billion, like I'm looking in a mirror too, because like, and I know you've done a lot more with like business than I have, I'd say. But yeah, like, to think that you're capable of a lot of stuff is this like tempting thought. And it's like, I think that people that become billionaires because they wanted to become a billionaire, like, that just can't be the driving factor.
Right. And I agree with you too. I think probably most billionaires weren't like, I just want to be a billionaire. Because
it's like running a marathon.
Yeah, you'd just be fighting uphill the whole way.
Yeah, it's like if you don't really like have to get there, then there's no way it'll happen.
Yeah, most billionaires are probably like so entrenched in what they're doing, and then they're like, oh look, I became a billionaire.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It's like all about the process.
Maybe like I'm making this conversation too drawn towards the numbers and less about like, I think what I'm really trying to get at is it's like hectic versus simplicity. Like,
okay.
Like, what if, like, for example, I have YouTube now, right? And some people are YouTubers and that's how they make their money. And it's just thinking like, let's say hypothetically, you know, let's say my channel let's say my views and my revenue just from YouTube, like just from the AdSense, like nothing else, like no businesses, just making videos. Let's say that went up by 20 times, okay?
Right.
I would be making like, that would mean I'd be making like a little over 20 grand a month from ad revenue, and that would mean I'd be making like $250,000 a year just by like posting some videos.
Right.
And I think what I'm getting at is it's like, obviously, and I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but I think for the most part I'm thinking like, yeah, well, YouTube, that doesn't really matter. Like, I'm doing all these other things and I'm showing it on YouTube. But then there's like, you have to realize the potential appeal of that. It's like, well, what if I could, or podcasts, like, you know, what if you could just sit down once a week with like, look at Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss. Like, what if you could sit down once a week with somebody absolutely incredible and make a seriously fucking good amount of money from doing something so cool once a week? Whether that's a YouTube video or a podcast, or maybe both. But like, you know, right now I'm like, well, I have like 85 different things and new stuff I want to start too. And it's like, but on the other hand, it's like, maybe I could pare down and just, if it were to hypothetically get to that point, like, maybe I would, or maybe I would do it for a period of time, like you're saying. You know, maybe I wouldn't be drawn to go full speed on something else for a while. Maybe I'd take 2 years and just fucking talk to people and make $250,000 a year by talking to people. That'd be awesome. Like, who wouldn't want that, right?
Yeah, it's like, I guess an experiment to do is like, what do you think you would genuinely, like, like taking away the money,
right?
What processes would be the most enjoyable
to actually work on? Like, what work would be fueling me? Like,
yeah,
what
and you can make the answer like as specific or broad as you like. I'm kind of trying to think for me too.
Dude, like, honestly, I think that is out of everything we discussed, that's probably the hardest fucking question for me. Like, I have no idea.
Do you want me to try and talk on my thoughts?
Sure.
It is I don't know. I think that one thing I've been thinking is that I like being in flow.
Mm-hmm.
I love being in flow. And I read this book recently. It's like flow. There's this STEM acronym. Let's see if I can remember. It's like selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. It wasn't an M, it was an R.
It's like, that doesn't sell me.
Yeah.
Richness.
Yeah, so I think that is what I enjoy, just getting into a state of flow. One of the things that I've been thinking is like living in Venice is really hectic for me. And like sometimes for example, I did a float tank a couple of days ago, and I got out and I just felt so relaxed. Mm-hmm. And like the sound was gone and the sights were gone. And I got out and I was walking and I was just like, oh my fucking God. Like,
yeah,
outside my window, I'm hearing like cars drive by all the time. Like, it's fun. I love it, but I need to be somewhere like more quiet and more naturey and more like relaxed. I think.
Yeah. Oh man, a few things. Well, like I feel that all the time. But then there's such desires to being down in this area, like I'm including like this whole stretch, because I mean, I even just like yesterday, the day before, like Jessica and I were looking up for fun like places more like way out, you know, like Topanga and shit, like because yeah, I mean there for. It's like, say we were gonna spend a couple thousand more a month than our current place here, it would be like still not like this area is just crazy. It's crazy.
Insane.
Like I'll just throw out numbers, like whatever. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Let's say we were gonna start spending $6,000 a month on a place.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, like you're not guaranteed that place is even gonna be that sweet. To be honest,
no,
like there are plenty of $6,000 a month places here that are like. That still looks like shit. This is still broken. Like, there's still a lot of problems with the $6,000 a month place. Yeah. Meanwhile, you could get like a fucking big house, like really cool, nice stuff up there, and it'd be, you know, you'd have like this big area and could have dogs, and like it would just be like a completely different life.
Yeah, I'm like.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a different place. Let's say like Austin or somewhere like not LA.
Yeah.
For $6,000 a month, you could probably get like a dope house.
Oh. Dude, yeah. Well, even up there, which is not even that far, 6,000 goes way further than here.
Really? Yeah.
Like way further. Like literally, I was looking at places that were like almost bigger than I would want. I feel like I would be uncomfortable with how big these places are. 6,000, you'd find places that are like, you know, 2,500 square feet, like 3-bedroom, 3-bath type shit with like a bunch of space and like on a hill. Yeah, whereas like here you find there's shit for 6,000 that's still not even gonna be nice.
Everything is just like very packed together here, and there's just not that much space. I find like I definitely wouldn't want to be in a tiny house in the middle of Wyoming by myself.
Right.
Because I think community is really important, but something that I think is like, do I really need a Southern California of like 10 million or however many people it is?
Right.
Or maybe, like, what's that number? I don't know.
Or even just getting outside of it. Like, for example, like we're like a 30-minute drive from Venice, Santa Monica, which is the place we commute to most frequently of anywhere around. Like, I'll avoid going to downtown LA at like any cost. Like, basically, like the only place we use our cars to go is like Venice, Santa Monica. Right. And it's like, let's say that's 30 minutes. Well, what if we were, let's say, 45 minutes, but from the other direction, like from the north and up there, then you're like way out of it, you know?
I actually just drove up there earlier this week to go for a run.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it is definitely more out of it, but it's not like that much more out of it than, yeah.
But like it still would feel. It would feel. But like geographically, it's still close. That's what I mean. It's like it.
Like, what is it? Like the LA area, right?
Right. Like I just mean, you know, kind of like the hills above Malibu and all that shit. It's like over there. It's just it is way more spread out, and you're still relatively close to all this stuff. But the vibe it's way more like.
Is it more spread out? Even like, dude, like I go there and I drive around. It still feels like. Maybe I'm just looking at the places by the ocean, but like
by the ocean.
Houses, like,
by the ocean, it's basically the same.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the kind of like the hills above them. Like there's just a lot more like, you know, the type of house that you would have like a windy road to get to.
Like I want to be able to like have like big fucking speakers and turn them all the way up and like blast the shit, and the neighbors don't hear.
Yeah.
Like. There's also, like, it's interesting, we talk about space in terms of, like, square feet, but there's also, like, sound space, too.
Yeah.
And, like, I share a wall with, like, a neighbor on one side, a neighbor on the other side, and then a neighbor above.
So you feel like they're, like, yeah. That's a good point.
Like, I can't be as loud as I want.
Yeah, you're right. Like, if there was, like, I guess we're kind of lucky with this place, is it doesn't really feel like, it feels relatively like it's our own thing.
You only have it below. You can like jump up and down a lot.
Yeah, true. And like there's that unit like way over there, but it's like not even directly. We don't really share any wall directly. It's kind of weird the way it's laid out. So, but back to the thing about like the work and stuff is I have no fucking idea. But I think right now where I'm at, and this would have been different yesterday, and I'm sure it's different by the time anybody is hearing this, but like,
it's fine.
Where I'm at like right now is I just feel like I'm leaning more towards like the paring down, and like I just feel like my entire life has been like stress of needing to figure it out, you know, whether this was school and being super stressed about like what are you going to major in, what's your career, you got to get your grades to get into college, you got to get the college to get into the job, and like, and then you get out of that and then it's like, well, now I have to make money and I have to do this and I have to do, like, and I just think that I've just always been putting pressure on myself for basically my entire existence, right? And just thinking about, well, maybe it would be nice to figure out how I can just have less pressure, like do less things, make money enough that I can be just more like everything in its place, whereas right now it's like I'm juggling 100 things, it feels like. I don't know, that's where I'm at right now. So what would the actual work look like is right now I feel like I just don't want to fucking do anything, to be honest. Like no work sounds nice to me right now. I guess maybe if you considered like podcasts or conversations work, that's fun. Like I like this hour, for example, has been enjoyable, but like I don't know if that's work or not, but like maybe it would be like I said a few minutes ago about having a couple podcasts a week or something, and maybe that would be the work. Hypothetically, obviously I'm not to a point where I could do that and have that be my only thing. I mean, I don't like, just from that type of stuff, I mean I make, that's the smallest portion of my income is from like free content type of stuff. I'm just like I get the romantic idea of the person that just posts videos or just makes a podcast.
And I think it's okay to have a conversation like this. Like, I know the world we live in demands money from people, and like if you want something to happen, then the way to do it most of the time is like you put money into it. It's like, oh, you want a place to live, you put money. But I think for a conversation like this, it's like, all right, like pretend we're kids again, pretend that like the money takes care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. So my answer to that would be right now, I would just take a fucking break. Because I don't know. I would need that reset. I would need that reset of like, what does it feel like to come out of the float tank and not have, like that, the float tank of life, basically. It's like, what does it feel like to not have those stresses and worries and just kind of like recalibrate what I want?
And this is an Alan Watts thing. It's like when you're coming from a place of worry, then you are worried. Like, it's impossible to sort of like see yourself from outside yourself. It's like whatever you feel, that's what you are in that moment. And I think that what helps is to have the awareness that there is another level of relax. Because like, damn, when I find another level of relaxation, like you never know you were tensed up until you let it go.
And it's like, dude, your fucking shoulder is like tense or something, and then you're like, whoa, I can let go of that. Or just mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're saying also mirrors how I've been feeling. It's like, you know what, like, shit, maybe I'm gonna take it, like, maybe what I think is taking a chance to not reach my potential is actually the opposite. Like,
wait, what?
Maybe taking my foot off the brake is actually the same thing as putting my foot on the brake. Or gas. Like,
right.
Maybe if your foot's on the gas for so long, actually maybe the way to quote unquote keep it on the gas is just to take it off the gas.
Yeah.
And just to think. Because like right now there is like kind of that thing, it's like all galaxies stem from a black hole. It's like when you're younger and when you don't have that many systems going, it's really fun and exciting to like start something. And if you're like smart and motivated and just like want to make it happen, you can. But then I think at every step of the way there's these like new challenges, and like we subconsciously just fucking don't expect the challenges to be new. Like as soon as you like pass a challenge, you look back and you're like, fuck, I didn't understand the shit, but now I understood it and now I got it. But I think that at every step the challenges are new, and it's just about like being flexible. I'm talking to myself right now, just being flexible and reacting to it. And like, I don't know, it's like if if something doesn't feel right, then there's probably a reason for it.
Yeah. It's tough to just even zone in and just really figure that out. Figure out what you would want.
Man, especially nowadays, like I find myself checking my phone so often some days, and like I was thinking, even when you were saying to watching a movie, I was like, well, actually, one of the benefits of a movie is that if you really put your phone away for 2 hours, like it's almost like that's going into a float tank. Whereas like a float tank takes away all your senses, but in a sense, the phone is one of our senses.
I think there's probably something buried in there as to why we like movies. Like we zone into it for a while and we come out of it like we just had an experience.
In a sense, you just are the movie. You just lose yourself. You forget about your whole story and you just join this story for real. And it's like, I got to join that story.
Yeah, I should watch some. I've been wanting to like go back to like the top type of movies.
Yeah.
You know?
And it goes back to this like Alan Watts thing. He's like there's no need to discriminate between different types of love. It's like if you're drawn towards something, then that's love.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like one thing I've been thinking is I was with a friend and he's having like a big birthday coming up. It's 30, and it was me and a friend and a couple people. We were driving, and he mentioned like, oh well, maybe we'll just go to like it doesn't really matter what I do, like age, it's just a number, and you know it doesn't really matter where we go, but like we'll get people together and maybe we'll go to like it was like more of like a casual restaurant. Maybe we'll just go there and then we'll go back to our place. And then the friends, we were like, no, like it's your 30th birthday, like get excited, like let's do something. And he was like, I don't know, I like almost like not wanting to impose on people. And then what I said that I think I said like act like you're planning a birthday party of a friend and not for yourself. It's like,
that's so
how would you do it if it was a friend?
Right. Isn't it weird that we're not very nice to ourselves?
Right.
Like we should be our
the
favorite.
way we talk to ourselves.
Like we should be the best to ourselves. You should want to treat yourself better than your friend. I mean, in a selfish but you should support yourself the most. That's almost a different topic, but like you have to be selfish.
Well, yeah, but it's not a different topic. Yeah. It's I think it's where all growth comes from. It's from that self-love. Like what I used to do back in college, I was like going through a tough time for a bit. And this happens, I go through ups and downs. But I would look in the mirror every day and be like, look myself in the eyes, be like, Sam, I love you. And like this is the reaction because it is kind of corny.
No, it's awesome.
But I did it for years, and as always happens, I was like, I don't need it anymore. But I think that just taking that step and looking myself in the eyes, and it's like you deserve compassion, kind of. And I've been doing that recently too, because I have been anxious and like in a weird place with stuff, and I've just been kind of trying to get back to that. And yeah, I mean, I think like seeing ourselves as we would see a friend, as we would see someone who like deserves compassion. It's like if like thinking about like what would a good teacher do?
Right. Yeah. Man, it's weird. I'm just like in my head thinking about like how I sort of treat myself, you know? And it's like, and then, I mean, I'm just literally thinking out loud, but it was weird because I almost said like, oh yeah, it's like we do this and this and this, but then I was like, well, in a weird way, like, you know, I can't impose the way I treat myself on how everybody else treats themselves necessarily. But like, yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah, just looking at myself and being nice to myself is like something I don't really do. It's like, it's weird.
Do you think that maybe you're afraid that if you give yourself the reward, then there's not going to be a like if you give the dog a treat before it fetches, then maybe it won't go fetch, kind of thing.
I don't even know. I mean, maybe subconsciously, definitely not intentionally. It's more like it's just how I feel. If I just feel like I haven't been getting stuff done, or I haven't, whatever, then I'm just like, oh, you suck, kind of,
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's definitely been like one of those themes for the last like maybe year of like intentionally trying to be nicer to myself, kind of like all the stuff we talked about with like you're doing enough, and like it was actually really funny because I think this was right after the last time we recorded, so probably like 2 weeks ago, and you probably caught it, but I don't think other people would. Was I made this huge, like, I'm not huge, but like I wrote this long Facebook post of like just like kind of like in a vulnerable way, just like being nice and just saying like, like maybe you're doing enough, like you don't have to be so hard on yourself and all that. But like I was really writing it to me, but everyone was like, oh, this is so amazing, like thank you so much, like I needed this right now. And I was like, but like literally I was just like writing it as if it was like a journal basically. But like it was interesting how it translated to so many people.
I think that message is something that everyone struggles with.
Yeah, I mean, just so this comes across on the podcast, I think what I was basically saying was like, like maybe you're doing just as much as you should be doing. Like maybe you're not doing enough.
Like building a house one brick at a time.
Right. Like, yeah, maybe you're going fast enough. Maybe you feel like you're not getting anywhere, but maybe you're taking one little step, and maybe some days you shouldn't take a step, and that's fine too. And like maybe you're just going at just the right speed and everything's fine.
Like, it's like maybe you are enough.
Right. That was pretty much it. And we kind of talked about it on the last one, and I just was thinking about that, like that, I think it was that night, and I posted that, but it was like literally I was thinking like it was like to me, but it was crazy. Got like a bunch of people were like in a different way. Like obviously I'll make posts and people are like, oh, like, this is so valuable or whatever, but this one was like a little like hit people a little stronger, I think. Just like really people saying like, oh, like I really like the timing was crazy, and I thought that was interesting too. Is like how we all kind of feel like we're in the same timings or cycles in a way. Like almost like I feel like we're in like a similar like cycle right now. Again.
Oh yeah, I feel like we always end up.
Like I feel like I don't know, like a month ago. This sounds wrong, but like I feel like, and maybe this is just me and maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like I was probably in a bit of a more like happy place, like say like a month or two ago, whereas like right now I'm also like a little more anxious, a little more like, I'm only saying that on you because you said that. So I don't mean to be putting it on you, but like it's just weird how like we go through these same things, and the fact that I said that and other people felt like that was the right time for them too. It's weird.
Yeah, and somehow this is what I feel like I need to get back to. It's just that like this self-love, and like an unconditional self-love, not like I love you, Sam, because you went for a run, because I love you because you ate healthy. It's just like I love myself. I love you, like
right.
No conditions attached. I feel like this is and maybe it's like, is there an expectation behind that'll make me improve and be happier, do better? And like maybe there's a little bit of an expectation, but like I just know from past data, like I can see it on this chart in my head, like when I just like figure out a way to like relax and like love myself and like get it from inside as opposed to outside.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah. And I mean, optimizing for happiness is ultimately what we should be doing. And I think if that is sort of enticing you to act a certain way, but the goal ends up with you feeling better and being happier, that's a win, right?
Of course. Yeah. So that's like, it's like I feel like we only can accomplish our top priority. And whatever's like number 2 on the list sort of just won't get done. This is conceptual, right? Like if you want to like email 2 people, then you can do it.
I send 1 email per day.
Sorry, I was gonna respond to your email, but you know the rules of 1.
A lot of days I send 0 shit.
Yeah.
Just can't fucking...
Same, man. I've been like falling behind on some communication with like, hopefully my accountant doesn't listen to this podcast. But yeah, it's like fucking like it's tough to also
that shit always works out, by the way. I've been so stupid about stuff like that.
Oh my god, yeah.
It'll just like fall off for like 8 months.
Yeah, I finally paid everything that I owed for 17. It was like 6 months. The 6-month extension.
I literally did the same thing. Like I paid it like, well, I forget when it was exactly, but it was like within a couple months ago. So we're talking like it was pretty delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that it always.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. I think. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing else that I can think of to say other than I think that self-love is really important, and I'm trying to get back to that.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think I'm like just trying to figure out what that thing is I need to tweak. Like you just feel it when there's a little tweak, and then like that little tweak leads me to like other routines to get off, kind of like I've probably been meditating less and been like going outside a little bit less, haven't like really exercised. Like it's just weird how you just get in this like cycle, and it's like then that feeds it the worst. And that's why I'm so into all the crazy biohacking health stuff, because I feel like that is just such a push in the other direction. And it's like when I do those things, then it's like a lot of other things just fall into place positively. Like I just feel better, I'm happier, like I'm more energized.
I find that sometimes like I when I do these things I do feel better, but then sometimes when I'm doing it unsustainably, I guess you might say, I just feel like I've like trapped myself, and I feel like sort of a prisoner to my own rules. Like I remember, like I think it's like if I try to do too much too fast, then it becomes unsustainable, and I just like boomerang back in the other direction.
Like too many rituals, like too many scheduled sort of like routines,
I guess I'm thinking a little bit about food now. It's like sometimes I'll try to eat healthy, and then I'll just like binge on a bunch of like really unhealthy stuff, and then I'll like it's like trying to get into a good cycle can sometimes get me into a bad cycle where I'm like, oh fuck that, and then I like end up doing it again.
Oh, that's really interesting. It's like it's almost like if you go too far in a positive direction, then you're gonna like it's like a stock. It's like when it shoots up too fast, it's gonna correct. You know?
It's such an interesting way to look at it, because like if I look at my life, I also feel like it's like that too. Like I posted this my tweet that kind of got popular about the Bitcoin prices.
That was so cool that like
it was so cool. Yeah,
you should talk about that.
Just like so, like I tweeted a graph of the Bitcoin price. Basically, it's just like it's a video of about 60 seconds, and in the start
and you put it together, like you recorded that.
I just took a screenshot video.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like you start. It's like say June 2010 through June 2010. And then the second date, it like slowly like gets dragged out. So now it's June 2010 through August 2010. And then I keep dragging the slider, and you see how the prices like start to evolve over time. Like it started at 6 cents, but then it goes up to $30, but then it falls down to $2. And at this point, you're only looking at the graph where it looks like it shot up and then plummeted. But then after that, you keep dragging it into the future, and then it goes up. It goes from $2 up to $1,000.
Yeah.
And then you keep dragging, and then it plummets to $200. And the graph looks the same way. It looks like it spiked and then plummeted. And actually, the first spike and plummet looks like nothing compared to this one. But it still looks like it plummeted. And then you keep going, and it gets to 19,000, and then it plummeted to 6,000. And that's kind of where we are now. But it's like, I feel like this kind of happens over my life. It's like, you make a lot of progress. Like, our minds expect everything to happen linearly, but nothing happens linearly. It all happens in waves. So,
but
I don't
the graph
know.
was such a cool effect, because every time the next spike happened, the last one just got flattened into the, the dead pulse of everything before it, because like the new perspective of the new spike enlarged it so much.
Yeah.
And then it took like the same pattern. But yeah, I mean, connecting that to everything is connecting that to everything.
That's the singularity of this podcast.
I mean, that's an interesting thought. I definitely haven't had any. It's hard to think of if I've ever had like exponential growth to that type of extreme. But I get what you're saying, sort of on like a principle level. Like you do just find a new medium somewhere. Like you don't sustain that.
Maybe that's not a graph of the growth. Maybe that's more a graph of the result.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're going with it. I mean, or almost like, ooh, it's almost like your expectations and then what actually happens. Because I always have massive, like every time I'm starting like the next thing, I'm like, well, this one's gonna make, this is gonna happen. But then it goes to 6,000 instead of 19,000. Right? Yeah. Like it's almost like that first one is the speculation, and then it corrects to the actual, which is literally what it is. Literally what it is, actually. That is what the graph is doing, because it's shooting up because of speculation, and then it's plummeting back to reality.
Yeah. Episode 007, plummeting back to reality.
Connecting it to everything. I have no idea what the title is. Yeah. The title is, just so everyone knows, the title is probably the hardest thing about this, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to find something.
I think it's like a fun game that we have, though.
It's fun, but like I think in terms of like our like time efficiency when it comes to creating this, is it's like I would say the title takes us as long as any other step in all of like the editing or anything else. Like the title takes at least as long.
Yeah.
Just to come up with the right title.
Yeah.
And it's also hard because then you have to listen back and try to find like the essence of it, and like yeah.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
How do you title a podcast that you just talk about whatever comes to mind?
Yeah. It's not like we have like a guest or like a set topic. It's like, that's why I like the descriptions. And I think like the descriptions are relatively straightforward to make, because it's just like thoughts on this, and this.
Yeah, this is what we talked about.
Yeah, it's like just straight down like a list of like 10 things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
are we hitting that point?
Yeah, I think we're good. I don't think we need to play Twitter unless we want to.
I think we can just shut the door on this one.
Feels like we're winding down.
Leave us a review. If you're listening to this, leave a review on iTunes. Tell people. Join the Facebook group. We would seriously love to get that going. Podcast feels way more in like a silo. So the more we can hear from you guys, it would just be awesome. It'd be really fun. So anyone listening, like if you're listening to this, like literally just, even if it's just sending us a DM or something and just be like, yes, I heard you say this. I think both of us would be like, whoa. And we'd like show the other one, like, look, this person actually listened this far.
Yeah,
so
we would appreciate it. And yeah, like it's fun to have the conversations. Let's see what we can build on it and make it a whole new conversation in different places. So
yeah, so the group could be cool for that, or if you know people that would like it, tell them about it. Yep, it'd be cool. But yeah, group, just type in Facebook Thoughts from Space Rock everywhere really. I'm Matt Loberstein, MattLoberstein everywhere.
Sam Feldman with 3 N's at the end of it on Instagram. And on Twitter, Sam_Feldman_.
Nice. So yeah, let us know if you got this far. We would seriously love to hear it. But yeah.
A quick note: I have a lot of annoyances on Twitter's design, and one of the real simple ones is that they don't let people put a period in their username, and it just looks so much better than the underscore. And they just it's a simple change they could make. Instagram allows it.
Oh wow, I never even noticed that before.
Yeah, they only allow an underscore, but.
No, that's really interesting you said that, because I would have never noticed, because I've just had my normal username. Yeah. But wow, yeah, interesting. Because I guess it would be like you'd rather be Sam.Feldman than Sam_.
Oh yeah. The underscore looks like real spammy, whereas the dot looks like it's like
sucks for companies too. Like when you can't get the actual, like you have an underscore in your fucking username, like you're bullshit. You know?
Yeah, it's changing a bit just because the supply and demand is like it keeps going and going, and people are like,
but still, like to look really legit. Like, you know, if you're trying to build a really big legitimate company, or you're like trying to be like a public figure of sorts, like it sucks
there's a
that
lot
it
of
matters,
Will Smiths,
but it does.
But there's only one at Will Smith.
Yeah, it sucks that it matters, but like, it's like, what's the solution? How could there be another way to do that? I don't know.
I feel like once you have enough demand, you just like figure out a way to get it. Like, if you were like, if I
there were
become
two
the
famous
most popular Sam Feldman by far, then I'll get it. And if there's another Sam Feldman that's also really popular, then like he can fucking have it. And like it's not a huge deal.
You can sell it to him for $5 million.
For $5 million and an apartment in Topanga.
A house. They don't even do apartments.
A house with a hot tub and a wooden sauna and an infrared sauna.
Dude. That's a goal. I want a place that I can have a sauna.
Hashtag life goals.
I would do that every single day. Anyways, thanks for listening. How'd you like that outro?
Oh, yeah, you thought it was over, and then we hit you with some more thoughts.
Thoughts on saunas, Twitter.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.